Hey guys, welcome back to the workshop. I've been trying really hard lately to make some good progress on the back end of the Mustang, get all this sheet metal work wrapped up, and as you'll see today, I got a fair bit done, but I ran into kind of a big snag, so we're gonna have to see how that goes. In the last episode, we talked about potential solutions for keeping the trunk lid open. Talked about a prop rod or some different springs or gas struts, and as you can see, I went with a prop rod, and I kind of hate it. I started by reusing some old round bar from something off of an old car and heating it and bludgeoning it into shape. Well, a couple of times because I screwed it up 2 or 3 or 4 times and had to rebend it because I didn't get the length right. I decided to make a little tab with a hole in it to make sure that the prop rod didn't slip out and, act like a guillotine. So I decided to pick out a piece of my finest scrap metal, cut out a little rectangle, drill a hole, bend it, and weld it on. One reason I love using these step bits is that you can use it to deburr the hole from both sides. Just run the next step up against the edge of the hole real lightly. I did make sure to mount the tab to the inner skin of the trunk and not the outer skin, just to, keep from burning through or warping the crap out of it. And now you get to watch me try to form a piece of sheet metal to act as a pivot and a bracket to hold the bottom of the prop rod down in the trunk. This is a piece of 14 gauge, I think, and it was not cooperating, and I don't know what I'm doing, so I really got frustrated and just beat the crap out of it. In the end, it didn't turn out too bad. Other than the paint. I didn't let the primer dry long enough before I sprayed some flat black on it, so it's got this weird glossy look, and then I messed it up by clamping it into place, so whatever, I'll repaint it later. It does work, and the goal of having that shape is that it will clear the fuel tank or fuel cell in the future. But I might have to adjust it a little bit because it does intrude on the opening for the tank by about 1 inch. So maybe I'll use gas struts anyway. So I'm using my little paper template that I made in the last episode to lay out 2 mirror image brackets that I'll use to mount the hinge brackets to the wheel tubs. There we go. 2 cleaned up, ready to go. Now let's figure out how to bend them. Now, make sure I make a mirror image and not just a copy. Of course, the second one went way easier because I knew what I was doing. There we go. Let's go weld them in. I think I really need to relocate my air compressor somewhere else. That thing is so noisy. Do a little cleanup on the back of the brackets and try not to light the car on fire. I think it was within a half a degree, so that's good enough for me. Oh, and don't burn through the wheel tub either, please. Didn't turn out half bad. So here you can see some Swiss cheese in the back of the car. And it turns out the one of the previous owners had tried to fix all these little rust spots, first by welding them shut, which made a big old goober weld on the right side there, and then just putting a piece of duct tape over it and putting body filler in from the outside and calling it good. I'm not sure that my solution's gonna be much better. We'll have to think about that and tackle this piece in the future. So I was hoping that at this point I could clean up and put some seam sealer on the wheel tubs and maybe get a little primer down, but I need to get in there and clean out more of the junk around some of these holes and patch up some spots. And here's one of them. This seam, this is a result of bad planning. A couple years ago when I was working on this car, I built the wheel tubs out of pieces of sheet metal that were a little too small, so I had to stitch them together, and I did not do a good job of welding it carefully. And then I put it in the car instead of trying to straighten it first. So this, what you see here, is really a futile attempt at trying to flatten it out a little bit. I can't reach and I can't see. So this may have to be left for later as well. You may even just get body filler if it looks really bad. Let's move on. I'm just making it worse at this point. Figure while I have the sander out, I'll just hit all these little welds that I had put in before. Now this is a piece that you might have seen in the last episode. It's the corner braces that I was going to reuse, and I decided to bring them in a little ways, so I went and found the nearest, straightest straight edge I could find and mark a line and trim it up. I did take a tape measure to it later, and it is pretty well straight. I usually work with heavier steel, so this 18 gauge or 19 gauge, whatever it is really thin, and it cut like butter. That was a really easy cut to get straight because the blade just zipped right through it. Now as you see, this one fit pretty well. In fact, it fit right back in the factory position. Kind of surprising, actually. That spot I just put my finger on, it actually clicks into place on a little remnant of spot weld that was still there. So do a little trimming, a little sanding, fit it nice and close to the tub so we can weld it to the tub and use it as support for our firewall in the back. Oh yeah, the tub's not quite straight. A little bit of oil canning, so I thought maybe I could pop it out a little bit. That didn't work. This side is now a problem. There's the factory holes, but that's like a ½ inch gap. What did I do? What is different here? Yep, they're symmetrical. They're the same. So it means my wheel tubs are not, or the car is not. So now let's measure everything. Maybe I can find somewhere where there's a measurement that doesn't make sense. But the only thing I can come up with is that top part of the wheel tub is not as wide on the passenger side as it is on the driver's side. So now I'm starting to worry because I might have screwed up my tire clearance. But everything I can find is telling me that they're basically the same. So what am I supposed to do now? And here we go. This fender is 14.5 inches. This one is 14. So now I'm worried that my tires are not going to fit correctly. I might not be able to get them centered up in the chassis correctly. And I might not be able to get the reveal the same from one side to the other. These are 12-inch wide tires, and I made these tubs to just fit. This could be a problem.